I'm Dr. Gold from Peak Human Labs, and I'm really excited about our second podcast episode. And I have Freak Fitness Online, Darren and Christina. So thank you so much for coming.
Thank you. We appreciate you inviting us.
And I thought maybe do you want to just give a little intro about your background and what Freak Fitness Online does, and then maybe we'll start the discussion.
Sure. So Freak Fitness, pretty simple, is using physique competing to help people reach their peak self.
Right.
A lot of people try to better themselves, but a lot of times don't know how to do it.
Right.
And someone told me a long time ago, or I read it somewhere, success leaves clues. So we like to use the journey to the stage to help people learn what works for them to become successful. Because for many people, the competing is something that they never thought they'd be able to do. Mm-hmm. But once we give them the tools, motivation, the guidance, the plan, and they execute it, and then be held accountable to that plan, they see themselves get better. Not just physically, because the physically is the only part that you see. It's what happens on the inside is what really is what matters. That's the stuff that lasts the longest.
What do you see? Give us an example of what type of things, how do they change after they go through a program like yours?
Instead of operating from a place of fear, they operate from a complete place of, let's just effing go for it.
Right.
Right. They have this less fear of failure, and one of the biggest things of failure is not trying.
Right.
Right. And we never can guarantee a win, but when you hold yourself or have someone hold yourself to a higher standard, a higher level of accountability, you kind of rise to the occasion. It's like a goldfish grows. In respect to the size of the fishbowl that it lives in. I remember I was at a dentist's office many years ago, and I'm like, there's this big fish tank in the office, in the waiting room. I was like, what type of fish is that? It's like, oh, that's a goldfish. I'm like, what? Because the goldfish I know, these little things that swim around these little jars.
Right.
And I was explaining to them, I'm like, so that kind of, there's a good analogy for what we kind of do for our clients. We call them the Freak family.
Right.
We really do become close. Because for a lot of our clients too, they find us, or they find bodybuilding because they don't feel like they fit in anywhere else. They just feel different. And then what we help them do is realize that they are different, but to celebrate that, not to hide it. And then with that, another level of confidence comes up, and then they start, after that first show, because I know it happened to me, it happened to Christina, I had that first show.
Yeah.
It changes everything, your perspective on everything. Not just on you, not just on the sport, but how you approach everything from career, relationships, and that's to us where we really see the biggest change.
And so when we talked a few weeks ago, that's when we met, and I was so interested. This piece about the online piece, and I was talking to my trainer as well. I said, how could this happen online? Like, why is this? Doesn't it require you to be right beside me, like helping me push weights? And I see that obviously you're so successful, so many clients online. So I'm just curious. Can you just tell us a little bit what does that process look like for a person who comes on board? What exactly is it so special about what you're doing online, that the coaching, I guess, that it makes it work?
I guess now we can get to the point where we can say we have proven results.
Right.
But earlier on, it's, prior to me becoming a coach full-time, I was an investigator. So I had training and experience in statement analysis, interviewing, and I don't want to call it interrogating, but to get answers out of people.
Right.
And statement analysis is a really big one for me. So like our updates are structured in a certain way. And I tell this to everyone when they start with us.
Right.
That they're set up in a certain way, not just to provide us information that you give us, but also to show us information or trends that you're not telling us. And then over time, as we get to know you better as a person, because it's not just here's your diet and your training program and off you go.
Right.
It's much more a complete, comprehensive approach, because we're learning what motivates them, emotionally, psychologically.
Right.
And once we get to know what really is motivating them, then we use that.
Like, what could be an example of what truly motivates a person? I mean, like looks or something, or I don't know, like. Yeah,
yes, there are those people that definitely are big on the. I want to become Arnold. I want to become Mr. and Miss Olympia.
Right.
But for a lot of the new people to the sport, they just think people look cool. But when you're talking about pure motivation, someone's maybe just left a relationship and they want to prove to the other person what they missed out on.
Right.
Or, some women have now raised their children to a certain age that they can become independent. And they're saying, like, I've put everyone first up until this point.
Now they put himself first.
Now it's my turn.
Right.
And I think that's really a key point, is that we do find out what really is motivating them. Yeah.
And for us with competitors too, the motivation comes from they have that date set that they told their friends and their family they're going to be on stage, and
Right.
they're wearing a little teeny outfit, right? So there's no better, like, you can't hide anything.
You can't
right?
hide. So
You can't hide, like, your hard work is going to show off. So that's their motivation.
and your like husband-wife team, how much impact does that have? Like, I mean, you might be obviously understanding it from both aspects, male, female, and relationships as well. How that impacts.
Yeah, I
How
agree.
does that?
I
What
think
type
it
of
gives,
dimension does that bring to the?
I think it gives a great
coaching.
advantage to us, because this may sound surprising to you, but I'm the soft one. She's the hard ass.
Allegedly.
Allegedly.
Yeah.
So she's the little doggy with the big bark,
Right.
And I'm the bulldog that just kind of sits there, and that could be back from my investigator days, where we were always under camera, and
Right.
I felt I could get a better result from kindness or suggestion, and make them think it's their idea.
Right.
You'd be surprised when drunk people, when you make them realize that maybe if it's their idea, it's a good idea to leave, than us making them leave.
Right.
And I don't know if that's the case, but she's more direct. I like to say she's black and white. I'm the color in between. Like, you ask her a question, you get a very direct answer.
Right.
And I think everyone has their different way of communicating or being motivated. If you want the truth and you want the answer right now, ask her. And I think the fact that we're consistent.
Right.
Like, we've had clients too before come and ask me a question. They didn't get their cheat meal or whatever. Then they go ask her. But we know this. I mean, we've been doing this. We've been coaching hundreds and hundreds of people. We know what. I mean, it's nothing personal. It's like it's not that they don't trust me or they don't trust her. It's just, it's like I hate to say this, but it's like a kid. He goes to one parent and say, "Hey, can I have this bowl of ice cream?" And then dad says no, and then they go to mom and say, "Can I have this bowl of ice cream?" And they're hoping they get the answer they want. No, we're very consistent that way, because we've both been there. We've
Right.
both been there. So
Right. Okay, and so let's say if how often do you know, like, how quickly do you know, okay, this person's going to be successful and this person's not going to be successful, or like, do you have a dropout rate? What does that look like? How much is your program? How special? What type of special persons does it take, or do you work with where they are, and you kind of guide them?
that's an interesting question. I mean, I think that the name alone, Freak Fitness, does typically shy away the average Joes that want to stay average.
Right.
Our people are people who really want to excel.
Right.
And up until this point, we were focusing just on the physique competitors and
Yes.
the bodybuilding shows, and we were very specialized in that. But we've been able to develop a system, a process from mental, emotional, nutrition, training,
Yeah.
that really now we can apply to other goals. And because in the beginning, and you probably know yourself, when you start your practice, you want to be everything to everyone.
Yes.
And you can't. There's
No.
only so many hours in a day, right?
That's right.
You rather specialize in something, become the best at it, and then see if that branches off to other stuff. And that's what we did here, and it was the right move. And now, we have a great team of coaches back, because we tried to do everything ourselves for a very long time,
Right.
and then until we realized that we can't add more hours to the day,
Right.
that we needed to get help, or we just had to be happy where things were. And we kept on getting more and more people asking us for help, and we can't say no. Either from bad coaching experience, or just having a bad experience, or just never being successful, never following through for whatever reason. They come to us saying, "We heard that you make freaks, that you can take people from last place to first place, or from watching the show to winning the show in a matter of months." There's no real hard, fast answer, because we've taken people, where we first met them, going, "Oh, this is going to be
Difficult.
where they end up, when they're turning pro."
Right.
We had one client that, when I first met her, it was just more of a, general fitness plan. I asked her one day, I said, "So, I see things are really starting to take shape." And I said, "So what do you think, would you ever consider, and I couldn't even finish the sentence about competing, and she said, there's no effing way you'll ever get me on stage.
Right.
A number of years later, she went to work on the Tuesday home after a year of mat leave, after her second daughter. She turned pro on that Saturday.
Wow.
So it's quite of a, so I think if it's just, once we commit to someone, once we believe in them, I always warn them, like, we're going to become your last coach you ever have.
Wow.
Because we become that committed. So.
I truly believe that anyone could get to the stage. Anyone can compete. It's just a matter of committing that right amount of time. For some people, they could train for 4 months and get on stage. Other people, it's a longer road. And we're very clear with that. Like, okay, it might not be this year, but as long as you're willing to commit that time and train for like a year
Absolutely.
or possibly even 2 years before you reach that goal.
Right.
So it is possible, as long as they're willing to
Commit.
Yeah.
to put in the time. Because it's not an overnight sport. It's something that's day in and day out, and you have to give enough time to.
Right. I just want to step up. So if there's any questions, we're going to be taking those from the audience. And I really apologize, Aubrey, for starting so late. So apologies to you. And we're going to be giving away a free consult with myself, a peak consult. I believe you guys are going to be giving away a consult as well.
Yep, absolutely.
Fitness online consult. You can just put your name in there or direct message us. And so my question is, this piece, the new program, which I think I just want to spend a few minutes
Ignition,
talking.
yes.
I want to talk about that because that's
Okay, cool.
That's I think I might want to start that.
Oh, nice.
Today,
Good.
Today is I want to start that. I want to. Why did you think there's a need for this? Like, why did you decide to do this?
I think just the overwhelming and ongoing onslaught of requests for people asking us to help them. For they say, I saw what you did with my friend
Yeah.
to get her on stage and look like that. I don't necessarily want to look that ripped, but
Yeah.
I do want to make a change.
Yeah.
And can you help? And we kept on saying, like, we're just focusing on the competitors, but more and more people started requesting, and like I told you earlier, we have a hard time saying no.
Yeah.
So, and especially before when it was just us two, we were so busy with just competitors. We had no extra time, none at all, to take on anybody outside that realm. But now we got a great team of coaches that we've been working with now for the last number of years, and now we have the system, we have the people, the support, the programming, everything's there. I mean, even the program that we're using, the training program that we use for this Ignition program.
It's similar, right?
It's similar, but it's one that we actually used for 3 years we used to have our own gym back in Winnipeg.
Right.
But we were trying to expand, but we decided we wanted to still focus on the online.
Right.
And because then your market is worldwide versus 2 mile radius around, right?
Yeah.
And we don't have to touch anybody for what we do.
Right.
With technology now, with everything that's available this way, we can train everybody from around the world. And we just had one of our coaches helped one of our Freak Fitness clients turn pro in Singapore, and we've never met them in person. It's all been online, and it's gonna be awesome come June this year because her and her better half are gonna be coming to Toronto to make her pro debut. We're gonna meet them for the first time, so it's great. But so with the technology and just being able to develop that, now we're like, we're going to use the same principles that we've helped develop Freaks on Stage.
Yeah.
Now we can help develop Freaks for the beach, the boardroom, and the bedroom.
Right,
We
right.
talked.
No, that's exciting, and I think you have a first customer right here.
Yeah, right
So
on.
has it already launched? Like,
Yes, we did a soft launch, I guess 2 months ago.
Because I went to your website, I don't think it's up there yet.
You go to Freak Fitness Nation,
Okay.
and then there's 2 choices: make you hot and fit,
Okay.
or make you freak for the stage. You go hot and fit, and that's the Ignition program.
Okay.
Yeah, it wasn't by name, but
Yeah.
just by goal.
Okay, got it.
And the Hot and Fit takes you to that Ignition website. And we do monthly webinars, similar to this, not podcast, but webinars.
Right.
Group coaching calls, the nutrition plan,
Yeah.
training program, weekly updates with one of our coaches, and a private Facebook group. Like there's so much support, so much information, so much guidance and accountability.
Right.
That once you're locked in and you're executing, you're embracing everything that we provide, your success is inevitable. It's just, I think one of the things that a big mistake a lot of general personal trainers make is they don't set a specific deadline for their clients. That's where physique competing it's so obvious. It's like,
Right.
well, my competition's April 13th. That's what I have to be ready for.
Right.
So we make sure we establish, like for you, you know, we're going to find out when your next, you know, if there's a big guest speaking event that you want to be in top shape for, that you may have to rip your shirt off for when you're on stage and stuff. But what, whatever, right? Yeah. But you know, we have other clients that we've helped do that, and they find that, you know, when they're in the boardroom, they're presenting with more confidence. They're able to sell themselves even more, and their ideas and their points at the meeting or on the beach. Of course, they stand out. Everybody else is lying on the beach trying to get a tan when really all they're doing is trying to hide. They don't want to walk, right? And then of course the bedroom. I mean, let's admit it. That's what it all comes down to. So
yeah, for sure.
We want to get there. That's the big prize.
So, you know, my interest and why I love working with people who are in your field is because they obviously are willing to challenge themselves. They want to be in peak performance, and who doesn't want to work with people who want to help themselves? Yeah, and that's what my passion is, and that's why I'm so excited to work with you and potentially people who are associated with you. Absolutely. And so, how much are you seeing the need for you know, people who have concerns about, you know, supplements or medications and hormones, things like that?
Well, I mean, all of our clients, we demand regular blood work, especially with competitors. Anytime you're pushing yourself to the max,
right?
It's like a high performance sports car,
right?
It needs high performance maintenance to make sure that it's not only, you know, performs at peak levels, right?
Right.
It's definitely something that we want all of our clients to do and have the ability. But, you know, up until now, you know, there's not a lot of progressive thinking healthcare professionals out there, and we're seeing there's more coming, like yourself,
right?
Which is great. Just, you know, the sharing of this event coming up, and just what, you know, we're going to be able to talk about and be able to do together. We have a lot of clients already interested because, to quote one client in particular, she said, "Fuck aging gracefully." Sorry for swearing.
Yeah.
You know, she's very...
Yeah, I think this whole idea of aging gracefully is crazy. Because,
I think it's hogwash.
Yeah. I mean, that's a very interesting discussion I was having with someone yesterday about this idea of what's natural. I mean, I think this, you know, some people come, I only want to be natural. But what is natural anymore? I'm not 100% sure, because even supplements, this is not...
I'm not natural. I had eye surgery. I had
that's what I'm saying.
I
think this idea of what's natural... I think what's safe is different. That's better. It's a better question.
Right.
You want to do things safely, but I think, well, you know, nothing is natural in this world anymore. That's
well, I think it's a sliding scale, in that the more aggressive and extreme, the less sustainable it is. Right. So it's it all depends on what your goals are. I mean, everyone, you know, wants to become an Olympic gold medalist, but there's always going to be sacrifices. But you want to minimize the life-lasting results.
So are you seeing in people, and is there any damage happening because of lack of medical supervision, or are you think people are putting themselves at any risk health-wise?
I mean, that's one of the reasons actually why we started coaching, is that we saw a lot of people that, you know, they competed once, and then all of a sudden now they're coaches, and they're assigning these supplement protocols to people, and these asinine training programs and cardio plans and nutrition plans that just...
with no bearing on sustainability or the health of the person actually following the program. So,
yeah. It's really makes you just shudder. And that's in the physique world, and even in the general fitness world, the ignition program type of client. It's these personal trainers that they try to be everything. I know we talked about this when we first said, is that I think the biggest mistake people make, personal trainers, doctors, whoever, they need to know what their scope of practice is.
Yeah.
I am not a rehab specialist.
Right.
I'm a performance enhancement specialist. So I take healthy people and we make them freaks, right? But if someone's injured, I'm not going to, you know, through online, try to assess what they're doing on camera and then say, oh, yes, that's, you know, this muscle, that muscle, you have to do this corrective. No. You go see a physiotherapist, athletic therapist, or whatever is wrong to the appropriate healthcare professional, get treatment, get better. And even better if that physiotherapist or doctor or whoever is trying to work with us, so we're all on the same page. And then it's just inevitable they're going to get better.
There's a team.
Absolutely.
There's really a team to develop this pro, or someone's a freak.
Yep.
Basically, there's, you know, yourself, performance specialist. There's perhaps a rehab specialist, maybe a medical practitioner, there's obviously supportive family members.
Yeah, exactly, exactly, 100%.
It doesn't all these people are critical to making this thing making it happen, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
No.
So that's very exciting. And what age groups are you seeing now? Like, I mean, myself, I'm in the 40s. Are you seeing a lot of people coming in like never done this before, and 40s coming in? Let's try this out, or is
All ranges. I mean, we try to stay away from I think the junior age, and junior for us is 18 and under. We try to. It depends on the division, but I don't want a 17-year-old trying to be a super heavyweight, 250-pound bodybuilder on stage. I mean, there are those, few genetic freaks that are just naturally big. Those are the exceptions, not the norm. But physique competing definitely is something that will definitely push yourself. We do see a lot, younger people, 18, 19. We've had people pro at 20 years old, but they've been weight training for 5 years. Right. So, we went back home for Christmas and met a gent there I've known for many years. He's in his 80s, and I watched him squat 315 pounds for 8 reps. But it was interesting because he just started weight training when he was 43. So that's still 40 years. But, it's interesting. I always like to find out when they started, because 40 years of weight training, that's a long time. 80. I mean, you'd think that he was started when he was in his teens, but like I started when I was 15, and I'm 43 now, so I do have a number of years. Very few injuries, knock on wood. But because I listen to my body awareness, right? And I think go back to one of your previous questions. I think one of the biggest mistakes people make is they try to, physique world or even the general population try to achieve their goal overnight. That's where I think things really get dangerous. I mean, a lot of the competitors that we come to us who have competed before, we ask for their competition history, and like they did 5 shows last year. How do you expect your body to recover from that? You just don't, right? So we're really big on, it's cycle, periodization, right? The Olympics are every 4 years. Those athletes are training for world champions, and they're training for national titles and stuff in throughout the season, but it's part of their smaller peaks because they're peaking for the Olympics.
Right.
They're not max peaking for these big events or these smaller events. So it's cycling, periodization, the training, nutrition, supplements, everything
has to be cycled.
Yes, absolutely.
Right. And this idea of sorry, I lost my train of thought. That's okay. Here. Let's come back to that in a second. It's not a one size fit all type of thing here.
No, I think the oldest competitor we've had on stage is 67, Tom, and that was at the World Championships. So, and the youngest we've had 19, I think. Yeah.
So this, how often are you seeing people who have, let's say, they lose their period, during the use the performance, and, what do they do? How are they? I
mean, for females, it's so different.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, we've had athletes turn pro the day they got their period, and some lose their period the second they've dieted for 2 weeks. Like, it's so. What other factors are involved? Right. How much stress are they under? Like that to me, and Christine will agree. Stress is to me the biggest limiting factor.
Right.
Controlling factor, off season or pre-contest. You see a lot of people, one of the biggest complaints people have about competing is that they don't want to blow up after a competition, the big rebound.
Right.
Well, the reason that happened was they didn't manage cortisol. They relaxed too fast.
Okay.
You know how when we prepare someone for a show, it's a slow build up, a gradual progression of adjusting the diet, adjusting the work output to reach that peak. But after that big day, you don't just go from 100 to 0. What do you think?
You don't just go and eat everything.
No, because even for the first month or even 6 weeks, depending how hard it was leading up to that, and how extreme they went, it may take 2 to 3 months for their body to realize that they're not under attack anymore. So when you start throwing all this junk food and not doing any cardio, not weight training as hard, the body's going to hold on because it still thinks it's
fat.
Exactly. So it's a matter. We have some that are post contest right now. They're up maybe 5 pounds because it's been a slow, gradual, relaxing, I guess you'll call it. But now they're transitioning to off season, and so everything's again progression and cycling.
Yeah, I think, and so, I mean, from medical side, I know there's a lot more tools that we didn't have before.
Yes.
Like, for example, we can do saliva or urine testing for a whole month on a woman and basically map out their cycle. Because we can see what's happening exactly and maybe supplement, to bring back the hormones that, may have been maybe missing now. It's very
Fantastic.
possible. And same for men as well. It's everyone's different, and I think I may have been mentioning to you there's a DNA test that basically looks at how you metabolize hormones, and everyone's very different.
Oh, absolutely.
And some people, you're right, naturally big, whatever reason, they're just easily for them to put on muscle. Other people, they can work out as much as they want,
exactly,
and they don't put on muscle.
No.
And that's related to our genetic makeup, and we now are able to test for these types of things.
Yeah.
And so once we give people that understanding, then we can go ahead and then give certain supplements to affect how the testosterone is metabolizing. So not just throwing on more testosterone
Which
isn't
most
always
people
the
do.
best.
That's
which
right.
is not the right thing.
More is better, right?
Because then what happens? You might end up with man boobs or gynecomastia
Yep.
or whatever, because you're just converting it to estrogen.
Yep.
Rather, you might want to take an aromatase inhibitor to prevent that conversion. So there's a lot of.
Yep.
I think there's a lot more science now that maybe didn't exist. And I know people even used to come to me and say, "Can you just prescribe me growth hormone injections?" And I think we have so many better ways of doing this.
Yes.
And monitoring. I think that's what's really exciting. It's the science is really coming from the medical side. It's catching up slowly.
Yeah.
And that's exciting.
Yeah. Well, and I mean, you had talked about peptides.
Yeah.
And that's really interesting to us because, again, people are competing not just to test themselves, but now with the ignition side of things, they want to become their best version of themselves, not just for one. They want to be it all the time.
Right.
Right? It's sustainability. So they're, ready for anything, anytime. It's not just peaking for the one. I mean, of course, if you're an athlete or like any type of someone who's trying to excel at something, like when you're trying to study for your PhD, you're not going to be studying super hard all that time. You're going to be peak for that big presentation. So
Yeah, Audrey's just commented, what you do after a show is just as important as before.
yeah, she would definitely know that.
Absolutely.
Yeah. She's a great example of someone who really changed everything, and it was because of competing.
Wow.
And it was the lessons she learned about herself that really has carried on to everything. She could talk volumes about this. So
Awesome. Thank
Yeah.
you so much, Audrey. Yeah. And so is there anything else that you have? And it's like, I know you had mentioned the peptides piece. Is there questions that you think that people from your industry are wondering about? Like what types of things are...
Well, I
are
think
concerns?
the peptides and the SARMs are definitely two things. Like I attended a symposium a few months back, Dr. Ken Kanakin's Swiss
Right.
symposium, and a lot of the topics ended up being about SARMs and peptides. And when we had talked briefly, you're saying you just went to Las Vegas and there was a
Yeah.
whole conference on that, and it's really interesting because if there's a safer and less expensive way to be able to optimize that side of the hormone profile, I mean, everyone's all for it, 100%.
Yeah, no, I think that's right. So I mean, I'll just give a little bit of breakdown from again, my understanding of SARMs. And so the SARM stands for selective androgen receptor modulator. So these are chemicals that also bind to the androgen receptor, like testosterone, but they have different effect. Some of them may have a more anabolic effect and less androgenic effect. So anabolic is the muscle building effect, and androgenic is what causes hair growth and acne and so forth, the male characteristics. So it's kind of nice that sometimes you can, instead of taking testosterone, some of these other compounds, let's say if you take a RAD 140,
Yep.
it has a 90-to-1 effect of anabolic versus androgenic.
Wow.
So you can get much more of the muscle building effect and not have much less of the androgenic effect. So it's an
Interesting.
example of
Yeah,
one.
yeah.
So SARMs are very exciting. The problem is that in Canada they sit in a kind of a gray zone, and but there's ways around that. We can write prescriptions to get in the States, and then you can come and just get it from the States and pick it up and bring it to Canada. So that's how we're doing it, or helping people get access to it.
And real SARMs.
Yeah,
Like
so
that's
that's it. I mean, there's many ones you get on the internet, and the problem with that is we just don't exactly know the purity of that. I mean,
correct dosing.
we'd like to get about 99%, purity, and you don't know where they're produced, and they could be, other things could be put inside that. So
Yep,
sometimes they're made in
absolutely.
Pakistan or China or something like that. But there are some pharmacies in the States that are doing it, and it's written with a prescription.
Yep.
And
Nice.
so I think that's pretty exciting, and doctors are just learning about this, and so SARMs is one whole category, and then we have, instead of growth hormone, we have growth hormone releasing hormone or growth hormone releasing peptide, and what that does is instead of you can take an injection or troche inside the mouth or tablets, but basically you take it at nighttime and it stimulates your own growth hormone.
Yeah, that's
Because then you're not going to have theoretically a suppression of your own growth hormone if you take growth hormone injections. I think that's the danger.
Yes, absolutely.
So we can kind of simulate your body as if it was younger. That's what happens as you get older. Your growth hormone just starts to go down, and we can start to just give it a boost again, and that's pretty exciting too. I think that's how people are going to stay younger, and that's not necessarily natural. But dying at 40 isn't natural anymore. No. I think that's we have to.
You know what? To me, it's about quality of life, right? Like to me, that is huge. And if there's no, like I always ask people, like, what do you define as natural? Because if you're drinking coffee, there's caffeine in there. That's right. That was actually on the doping control list for a number of years. Now it's not. I mean, there's a certain tolerance level still being watched by WADA and IOC just to make sure that there's not a reoccurrence of abuse. But I mean, you take aspirin, like there's such a, where with this, to me, there's only benefits.
Yeah, and the other, genetic, I said your genetic makeup, even if you look at caffeine, you can look at how you metabolize certain drugs.
Yep.
And that's different for everybody as well.
I see it with supplements too.
Yeah. Like
we've seen people, come to, we have posing classes on a regular basis, and they'll show up, and there's time we'd be all bloated, and we were able to narrow it down. It was one specific whey isolate. I'm not going to say the brand here. Right. I don't want to get in trouble, but it was very specific, very consistent, because it's so much cheaper than everything else.
Right.
And we were able to say, yeah, it's that brand of protein powder. Like, how'd you know? It's the same look every time. And it was promoted as whey isolate, even said on the bottle.
Right.
But if it's pure whey isolate, there should be no lactose in it, right?
Right.
And clearly that it was, because all they did was switch the brand to something a little bit higher quality and higher price, of course. Within days, complete difference.
Wow.
So it's, but the other people took that whey isolate and had no problem with it, right? So it's, but supplements too. We've had people take supplements that no one's ever been bothered by, and then they remove that one product and boom. Yeah. It's interesting.
We just had a question, I think up there, about what do you recommend for weight loss? And I think without getting to very specifics of your personalized plan, what are you guys recommending for weight loss? Like, how do you attacking that?
Are we talking about generally?
Yeah.
I just think a structured plan.
Yeah.
Just have a consistent
nutrition plan, right?
There's no magic pill.
There's no magic pills. I mean, we may have some pills on the medical side for helping people with weight loss. I mean,
but they supplement the work.
Right.
That's right.
Right.
That's not gonna. You're right. They're not a magic pill. Obviously, diet's like 85% or 90% or something.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I always use myself an example. I mean, I was a competitive strongman competitor.
Right.
I got up to 338 pounds at my peak weight.
Right.
I was strong as, like, I could move anything, push anything, pull anything, whatever.
Right.
But when I decided I want to do bodybuilding, I was still weight training. That I was still exercising. That all I did was change my diet.
Right.
And I lost 120 pounds in like 9 months and won my first bodybuilding show. So nutrition is such a huge factor. Everything you put in your mouth matters.
Which brings me to the thing which is kind of somewhat a fad, and I'm not sure which way to be on it. This whole idea of carbs and ketosis, and I'm just such an interesting topic because I spent a whole conference on this whole topic.
Right.
On all the experts, Dominic D'Agostino and Ryan Lowry from the U.S. that trains all these NFL players. I mean, they're very big on let's keto. But hey, I don't know. Lots of people are telling me that you need carbs to be more it's more anabolic. So what's your feeling? There's people who are doing it.
It comes down to this.
Both sides.
We have vegetarian, we have keto, targeted keto, low carb, high carb. Everyone's different.
Right.
Just like you're saying how people have different responses to supplements or drugs. It's the exact same thing with food. Like there's so different extremes, but in regards to performance, that's scientifically proven. You need carbohydrates. That's the preferred fuel source for exercise in the
Muscle.
Anaerobic and glycolytic kind of energy system kind of training zone. Aerobic is fat, and for sedentary people, I think a keto diet may be really good because you're now burning fat as fuel,
Yes,
right?
yes.
Where I think an athlete would come into trouble with just a strict keto diet is when they start doing their weight training workouts or like high intensity intervals. They would find that the performance, and it's been proven, the performance just
Yeah, I
takes a
think,
tump.
and then what I think, Dr. Laurie was saying is that, it's okay if you're doing a lot of training, is to take that carb right before the workout or
Yes.
something. That makes sense.
Like I have a
that-
number of clients that are targeting
makes-
keto. One of our coaches, Denise, she achieved her best condition by far at this year's nationals, and her actual diet phase for her contest phase was like 6 weeks shorter than it's ever been, and she did less extra like cardio. Her weight training, the plan for her is the same.
Right.
That's fairly consistent, but the keto really did make a difference for her. I have a number of clients that experience the exact same thing. So I have actually one client, he's kind of related to a gentleman I just spoke earlier about arthritis, and he's still not fully back into the gym, but I gave him it was a targeted keto diet for, when he does get back to the gym. So for the most part, he's doing a ketogenic diet. He's changed nothing else, but just to keto diet. He's lost 17 pounds in a matter of, I think, 3 months. Just all he did, the calories weren't that much different. It was just the food choice changed. But he's the CEO of Jackson Spring Water.
Okay.
I mean, that's his company. So he's massive responsibilities. And lo and behold, he can think clear.
Yeah.
He's got better energy, more sustainable. Just his blood sugars are stable throughout the day. So he's a believer, and he can't wait to get to the gym now because then he knows his results are going to get even better.
I actually wonder if we're meant to cycle from keto to not keto, like throughout the year. Like I think you need a reset, like for certain people who are at risk of insulin resistance or metabolic syndrome.
Yep.
Those are the type of people that need to kind of reset themselves because they need to get their insulin back sensitive again, and it resets them, and then they can go back once they can eat a bit regular low, carb diet or low fat.
But it'd have to be a slow reintroduction, right?
right.
Like
You
there's
can't
got to be.
just- because then there's too much shock.
It's just boom, boom.
Yeah.
It's too extreme.
But I mean, our bodies were probably famine feast.
Yep.
In the old days, and that's probably why
Right, you run for
used
how
to
many
that.
miles to finally get that animal killed, and now drag it back to the community, and
Right.
everyone feasts, and then now
Exactly.
what? Go back and hunt again.
Yeah.
Right.
We had a couple of questions. I know that we had one just before. How many cups of coffee do you drink a day, from Nicole? Is that,
Do I drink?
yeah.
2.
Yeah. So what do
Yeah.
you think about caffeine? And this is
I
most of the supplements
think-
have caffeine. Pre-workouts have caffeine.
Well, see, again, anything taken to the extreme becomes bad.
Right.
I mean, I think there's a lot of things that have benefits, but anything taken to the extreme is bad. It's like exercise taken to the bad, diet taken to the bad. Hell, if you sleep too much, you accomplish nothing.
Right.
Right. But coffee depends on the size of the person. I mean, I'm 280 pounds. I can probably take a little bit more caffeine than the average person, but
Right.
I think you'd be fine with 2 cups of coffee a day. Anything beyond that, you kind of have to wonder why you're drinking more coffee, right?
But also too, you don't drink other beverages that contain caffeine.
Right.
as well.
I mean,
It's
if
just-
someone's drinking monster drinks and
Right.
taking pre-workouts that have, some of them have like 4 to 5, 600 milligrams of caffeine in one dose. Like, that's just nasty. That's just nasty because,
Right.
well, you're going to have to come off that eventually, and then you're going to get the headaches and all the body trying to adjust with that less stimulation, right? So, but yeah.
What about what's the average time for client transformation to get to the one's goal? Like, how long do you think? About 3 months? Like, what do you?
I'd like to say 4 months.
Okay.
Because the first month we're trying to get used to each other. We're trying to learn each other. And then, but it also depends on how big of a goal we're talking about.
Okay.
If we're trying to, I mean, we've had people train for shows, for 16 weeks, but that's all in. Like you're already going,
Yeah.
and now we're just ramping things up for the show. If it's a sedentary person who wants to make a big transformation, like she said earlier, can take anything from 3-4 months to 2 years.
Right.
It really depends on the person, their circumstances, their genetics,
point, yeah.
their work ethic, their commitment to the goal. Like there's a lot of factors. But if you want a number, I would say give yourself, 16 weeks.
Okay. And then we have one here. What are the costs? Are there different package options?
For the competing or?
Yeah, I actually do both. I mean, I'm interested obviously in the condition one, but
Okay.
both.
Well, the physique competitor program, it's $500 for the first month, $250 a month thereafter.
Okay.
And then for the ignition, because it's we're not going to the shows and stuff, it's a little bit less. There, it's $300 for the first month, and then $150 a month thereafter.
Okay. And then basically you do initial meeting or online meeting.
Everything's
that
on.
sets it
Yeah.
up, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Does a keto diet affect quality of sleep? I'm having difficult time getting deep sleep. Carbs usually make me sleepy. What do you think about that?
Definitely, I would look at like how close are you consuming your last meal? Because if you eat too close to bed too, that can actually keep you up. How much water are you drinking before bed? Like how much? Because if you gotta constantly go to the bath, you're not gonna want to. And then also, when was your last dose of a stimulant? Like when did you last drink any coffee? Because you can let's say drink coffee at 3:00 in the afternoon. That's still gonna impact you at night.
Yeah. Do you recommend not working out like before bed?
See, that's different for everyone. See, for me, we kind of differ on this one. I had some genetic testing done, and it told me no surprise, I'm a high cortisol secretor.
Okay.
So it was suggested to me, and which is already something I was always doing. I found I got to wake up, eat, and go train. I got to put me first.
Yeah.
Because I get so into my day after that, by the time it gets to 5-6 o'clock at night,
Yeah.
I'm like mentally exhausted.
Yeah.
Where her, I mean, she's a little bit. What's the word I'm looking for? Without getting myself in trouble here. No. So she's a little bit slower. No, she like the alarm goes, I'm up. I'm gone.
Right.
Where she's a little bit slower to kind of get going.
It going. Yeah.
But that.
But once you get going, you're
Right. Exactly. And she's more sustainable like this, where I'm like bang, and then I'm down like this.
Yeah.
Where she's more like this, right? Each one has its pros and cons. I burn out a lot quicker, where she's like, hey, what's up? She can work out any time of the day.
right.
So that has its advantages. Like when we were shift work, years before we did this full time, it was always, I loved night shift because I got to work out first.
Wow.
She did not like it because we have to get up and go to the gym, so we're back in time to get ready for a night shift. Or day shift, she loved because now the work day's done. Now it's my time. Or I'm like, I gotta take a cup of coffee. I gotta wake up. I gotta get myself re-energized again because I'm tired from the day.
Right.
So both worked. It just you gotta adapt.
Okay. From Marta Fonseca, would DNA testing will help to improve performance and so therefore physique? So I think DNA testing is going to give you insight into what your body's like. So for example, there is a test looking at how you deal with carbohydrates. There's a genetic test to tell you that is keto good for you or not good for you. I can tell you that, like for me, I was doing keto and I was falling apart. Like I couldn't do it. I don't need to be keto. I'm vegan. I'm doing really well with that.
Yep.
But my wife, has a history of type 2 diabetes in her family. Yeah, that diet probably is excellent for her. Like, she needs to go on that diet once in a while to just, again, reset the system. But yeah, I think genetic testing is definitely helpful for that. The part about the hormones, that's another part where genetic testing is really useful. Neurotransmitters, we can now look at, are you the type of person who, whenever you need to be stimulated regular, like to get a dopamine release. Some people, they get a quick dopamine release and it stays. Or some people just leaves really quickly, so they need to get another stimulus right away.
Interesting.
So it's lots of interesting things that are possible, and they help you to understand who you are, and that I think would help you with your training. Yeah. From Tony, what is that testing where you found out that information, Darren?
Oh, that would have been
The
muscle genes. Muscle genes.
Okay, it's a cortisol curve.
There was
or
at the
what did they do,
time they
saliva
only
test?
had it was a saliva test.
Yep.
They did it actually at the Olympia. The owners were coming around. Mark Gilbert is the main kind of contact to have there. He writes with Muscle Insider, with the same magazine I write for, and he approached me and he says, "Hey, can we do
So just a one saliva test or 4?
It was just the one.
Okay.
Because there was only specific markers that would impact or have the potential impact building muscle and performance. Like it was about like one of the genetic markers indicated that I was not necessarily, and I kind of wanted to ask you about this, so this is actually a good bridge. It indicated that I would not be good at like absolute like power lift, absolute strength lifts. But I've deadlifted 800 pounds. I've pulled 50,000 pound trucks. Like I was one of the strongest guys in Canada. So has there been any concern that too much knowledge can
I think that
impact someone?
Yeah, this is the problem with when we look at only one gene.
Okay.
This is a problem because nothing in your body is just one gene, right? Like it's an interplay of like 20 genes that are all interplaying with each other. And there's even knowledge, like we don't even know some of the different variations that are out there because we don't have collected enough data.
Right.
So you may have, even though you may have this one gene that they tested for that, you're not supposed to be a power lifter.
Okay.
You have another 10 genes that are like make you a super power lifter.
Okay, fair enough.
And
that's
the
fair.
problem. And that's the problem with looking in just isolation of one gene. So for example, I have one sprinter gene. Does that mean I can go run?
It's right here.
Does that mean, does that mean, but the rest of I'm missing out on, the other stuff. That's not going to make me, win the 100 meters. So I think the one thing I'm really excited about when I see these new tests that are coming out is looking in a functional manner means that seeing how the thing moves across in your body, looking at multiple genes at one time. So that's what's really exciting, to look at the pathways. How does it happen? Like, how do you take in B vitamins?
Yes,
how does that
that's
happen?
a big one. B vitamins.
Yeah, how do you take it in? Like, do you have like a problem with metabolizing, one particular part of it, or then then you can give you a different version of B vitamin.
Okay.
Because you don't have because the B vitamin has to be metabolized over many steps. But if you just have one step missing, that stops everything. But then we can fix it by giving you somewhere else. But
it's very comprehensive.
that's why I think that it's looking at it in a pathway is really exciting now. We're calling it functional genomics.
It's amazing how it is expanded and grown so much. Because I mean, I had that genetic test done like 7-8 years ago.
Yeah.
And even since then, I know that because I've talked to him since then, and he asked for my feedback and stuff, of course.
Yeah.
And I mean, I definitely enjoyed knowing that information. But like you're right, there was some conflicting information. Like one says because you're a high cortisol secretor, you should not drink a lot of coffee or caffeine because it'll overstimulate you, and then you'll anxiety, cortisol, all that stuff. But then another gene that was tested, it suggested that I take 100 milligrams of caffeine before cardio to help me metabolize fat better, right? So I'm like, okay, but he has since explained that you're right. Now there's other genes that they can test that are now filling those gaps.
Fill in the gaps, yes.
And that to me was my hesitation for the longest time for genetic testing, was that a little bit of information can be dangerous.
It can, because it might tell you, I can't do this now. Or, maybe I shouldn't be doing this.
Exactly. Because if I would have read that genetic testing 20 years ago, who knows, maybe I'd be a marathon runner instead.
Yeah, exactly. You'd be 280
I don't think
marathon.
so. My poor shoes,
What other testing do you suggest, Dr. Goel, from Tony? Okay, so I would break it down in a couple of things. One is, the general testing that's available by the government, that's free. You need to have, your hormones that they allow you to test for free, cholesterol, sugar, A1C, and liver function, kidney function, those types of things. Then after we go beyond that, then we want to check your actual hormone levels, which is done in either by saliva or urine, and that's shipped out to a company. Usually, there are companies in the States, there's companies in Canada. People have to pay for it $200. It gives you. It can either give you, like I was asking you about the cortisol, give you a curve of your actual cortisol.
Right. Okay.
Because what happens is that everybody's cortisol peaks in the morning, and then slows down. Like, 'cause that's how our body gets up and gets going. It needs cortisol to get moving. And but when people have a lot of stress, the cortisol keeps staying up. It doesn't go down, and that's not good. That means your body gets worn out and stressed out and not healing. But if you keep having chronic stress for a long time, then you don't even have, your adrenal gland gets tired,
right,
and doesn't even have that big peak in the morning. It just stays low, and those people are just tired and like. So I mean, that's the value of hormone testing, estrogen, progesterone, DHEA, DHT, the metabolites of estrogen. You want to understand, are you the type of person that breaks down your estrogen into a bad type of estrogen or a good estrogen? You can find that out now. So hormone testing is one piece. Then there's, like I said, neurotransmitter testing to look at what's your dopamine levels, epinephrine. For somebody who has anxiety problems, depression, we can do that type of testing. And then genetic testing, as I was mentioning, what is your predisposition to some of these type of things? Again, it's not a for sure, but it gives you kind of like a bit of a sense of what's going on. So it allows us to tailor what type of supplements or hormones or peptides that we can give you.
Right.
It just helps. And I can put that up onto the
Yeah, definitely.
the thread. Where do I start to go for a full DNA test? Okay, so I'll put the link up for the DNA test that I was mentioning, and this is not a full DNA test. So there's different types of tests.
Yeah, there's a lot you can do.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
it's what they do they look at what we call SNPs or genes. So these are like actual mutations or variations in genes, and they look at the ones that people know about, and that's generally when you go to 23andMe, they're also doing that type of thing.
Yes.
But this one's called DNA Company. They're doing a pretty comprehensive one. They're dealing with NHL players, and
Okay.
Montreal Canadiens, and
Good.
Toronto Blue Jays and stuff like that. This company. So I would suggest you maybe have a look. I'll put up that link. But if you want to get your full genome done, there's another company that does that. That costs about $1,000. But the value of that is not there. Like, we don't know what to do by having your whole genome decoded. Like, what are you going to do with all this data? I think one day that price is going to come down to like a few bucks, and then that might be worth it.
It's amazing how the technology is improving things, because that was one of the limitations before with the genetic testing I done. It was the time it took for turnaround and the cost to do the test. But now they're due to volume,
Right.
and more people wanting to get it done. Now things are getting much more efficient, information back, and now people like yourself that understand it better, that can translate. Because that was another, and I can't remember the name of the genetic testing that was. I mean, they were sending books like this back to the patients, and they're like, I don't understand any of this stuff. I said, well, that's why I don't want.
Yeah.
I was very hesitant. I mean, ask anybody who's asked me about this, my clients included, as I was a little information is good, but also can be bad.
Yeah.
Right. See, for me, like for example, estrogen you mentioned. A lot of people say, they do a lot of skin fold caliper testing, and where what hormones you're dominant and stuff like that. I mean, I can just look at someone. If you're holding more of your fat in your ass and legs, chances are you're estrogen dominant.
There you go. Yes.
Right? Like, I like to keep things very simple and plain, because one thing I found in the past too, a lot of people try to impress their clients with all these big words and information. The key is to be able to communicate that, the information that And now when you said more functional, like that's, to me is going to be key. If you can take the information that you get from the genetic testing and be able to then now decipher that information and make it usable for the end user, the patient, the client, that's going to be gold. But they have to know that it's not end all be all.
Yeah.
Right.
Even I think that we just had a podcast just before this on cannabis, and there's this new test that we're offering in the clinic that just gives them 45 minutes. Whether or not you're at risk of, psychosis from taking cannabis, or whether you're a fast metabolizer, like you need a higher dose of THC to get the same effect as somebody else. We can start doing those types of tests in
interesting
in 45 minutes. I mean, it's coming. Yeah. It's going to come very soon.
Love
that we'll know these types of answers. That will actually make a difference.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I like that.
Yeah.
Well, that's cool.
Okay, we got another thank you from Tony. I'll be booking COs that suffer. Thank you, PTSD,
Excellent.
MDDs. So thank you, Tony. We'll definitely I'll reach out to you, and
Awesome.
And we will see you. Any other questions out there? How are we doing with timing? Are we?
Been 55 minutes.
Okay.
Time flies. You're having
A few
fun.
minutes. Is there anything that you want to talk about? Anything you think that our viewers want to hear?
Well, I think I'm happy that we're able to get together here, and that people who come to Freak Fitness are not people who just want average. They want to become their best. They want to
Right.
become peak or a freak.
Right.
I kind of like that rhyming too.
Yeah, yeah.
We're gonna work on that.
Yeah.
But I think now, like seeing what's available there, and now having that door open, I know that we're gonna definitely have some people coming your way that that are gonna want to know more, because like I say, I know what I can do, and you know what you can do.
Right.
I mean, I've had a chiropractor before tell me that this is a deadlift. So obviously we all have our special. I'm not saying that you know what a deadlift is, but but I think if everyone can work together, become a team, and know their role, know their scope of practice, that it really can lead to some pretty amazing things. I think it's going to eliminate a lot of fear and a lot of wonder and question and doubt, which is right back to what we first talked about, you know, when we started this this meeting here, is that a lot of people are limited by fear. But if they now have information to say that, oh, I can do this, and it's supported by this testing,
Right.
it really is gonna, like Marta, she's gonna kill me for saying this, but well, she's 50 years old. Okay. She went to North Americans this year, and she turned pro. This is someone who had left competing for a long time and came back. And in I think, was it May? She won the Crush Cancer show. She won everything. She won the open class where she was beating women in their 20s.
Wow.
She went-
Congratulations.
yeah,
I'd
she's
love to meet
fantastic.
you.
So
That's awesome.
I'm not surprised that
Yeah.
she was asking questions, because that's the type of person that's
Yeah.
going to want to know more.
Learn more, yeah.
And you know, it's amazing how she'll pay attention to everything we've said, and I know I'm gonna have questions waiting for her.
I mean, it's such a privilege to work with people like
I
you
lo-
and
yeah,
your
I love
clients,
this.
because, you know, I want to work with people who want to make a change, and what better way to make a change than doing it through this type of
Absolutely.
sport? I mean, to be honest,
Yeah.
this is the massive transformation that's required. I mean, it's one way to show that. What else can be more tangible than changing your whole body?
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. And don't be surprised if you do start with us, that I'm going to say this now on camera, that you may see Dr. Guel on stage. You never know.
Yeah, you never know.
Look, he laughs.
Never don't know. I mean, I'm 48 years old. You know, never know. Never mind.
There's age categories, so,
Yeah, so I can-
that means nothing.
That doesn't mean.
There's age categories up to 80 plus, so you got a couple years to go.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you. I'm looking forward. So I'd love to have a talk about it after, as I'm going
Of
through
course,
the program. If you don't
of
mind.
course.
I'm happy to share some of my stuff online. I don't mind.
Well, it's about, again, giving you that higher level goal, because I know a lot of people just kind of kick the tires a little bit, but you know, they're curious to see how far they can go.
Right.
And like she said, I think everyone can compete if they want to, and it's not competing for that trophy. And I think that's what really kind of sets us apart. Is we do want to go to the show to win. But it's not about the trophy. The trophy just represents everything that you've done to get there. And it's only celebrating that one moment.
Yeah.
But it's everything you've learned about yourself, and how you respond to adversity, how you respond to stress, how you respond to structure.
Yeah.
That really then becomes the big wins, because then you apply it to everything else. And then we've seen people leave shitty relationships. We've seen people leave, change careers, start their own businesses, because now they had that confidence that, yes, I can.
Right.
Just go for it. And that to us is the huge wins. So
Awesome. Thank you so much, everyone.
Right on.
So again, we'll pick some people for free consults. So just put your name out there, and I think that's it.
That's
Thank you
good.
very much, everyone.
thank you very much.
Okay, take care.